All right, everybody, we're so glad that you're back for our final week of Because I Said So. We're talking about technology today, and we've been waiting for this moment. We've been talking about it, and I think we're going to have some great things to share with you. We've got some special guests with us. We have, to my right, your left, we have Jenna Perky, who is the head swim coach at COM Aquatics. Is that right? And she's with students all the time. Yeah, oftentimes more than their parents, especially once they get to that level of competition, right? Jonathan Perky, who also is our elementary pastor. We have J. Tom Snelson, who also serves our young professionals, which if you have a young professional or you are one, you need to come check out what we're doing with young professionals. Pretty exciting. Overseas college ministry and everything cool. Like J. Tom ups our cool level. And then this is Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Kyle, you guys know from United Student Ministries. He's our youth pastor. We're so glad to have him. He's got a lot of insight all together here about technology and about kids and what they're facing. So we want to dive into that. But what I want to do first, before we dive into that, before we share what you guys are thinking, we share some of what the students and parents are saying about technology as well, a little confession time. Let's take a moment. What is your weakness, technological weakness? What do you enjoy? Is it looking at your news feed? Is it Netflix binging? What is it that it's just, it's a weakness for you? Come on, who's willing to start us off?
I like technology.
Yeah.
Like pretty much anything technology.
Just
I'm all about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't actually like Facebook.
Okay.
But I fall into the Facebook hole.
Okay.
I get on to post something, even something like for ministry, and I get completely distracted immediately.
Yeah.
And 45 minutes, I've not only not done what I was supposed to, but I've done nothing. I've watched a bunch of videos I didn't even like. I fall into the hole and I get so angry, and then I forget to do.
While there's a football game and the fantasy on the TV.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Multitasking.
Multitasking.
Scrolling on the iPad.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I do like the ability to watch TV or football games on an iPad.
Yeah.
While other things are going on.
Yeah.
Then she can watch Madam Secretary.
Yeah, multitasking. What about you
Really
guys?
caring.
You guys have any habits or things that you just stick to?
Well, I am a random video Facebook guy.
Right.
So it's click on one video, but it's all the videos that randomly pop up after that.
That are related
That
to it.
Sometimes yes, sometimes it's pandas. Sometimes it's look what this kid dropped. Look at this person falling. Look at
Kitten
this person.
videos.
Oh, I don't like cats.
All
But
right.
pretty much any baseball videos. I don't think I've ever posted anything about baseball. But baseball highlight videos show up on my Facebook feed all the time.
That's funny.
So the random Facebook videos, because then I go, Megan, check out this video I watched. I don't want to watch that.
I think I got a couple weaknesses, many, but one of them is my news feed, the actual news feed app on the iPhone, because it's customized to what I've looked at in the past. So I see the headlines and then political stuff and then weather. Ooh, I'm interested in weather, and then sports will come up, and so Texas Tech. Okay, I'm checking into that, and then another political thing, and I could just go for a long. I mean, it sucks you in because there's a never-ending stream. Probably the same articles just coming up over and over again, but I get lost in that. And then Kayla hates this when we're watching a movie or we're doing something, and somebody says something I don't know the answer to. I go to Wikipedia or I get on my phone and I check it out. I want to know the answer right then. I do that all the time. And it bothers her because he's like, if we're watching a deal who died in the end, and I'm looking at my phone to find out the plot.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I like that. I like spoiling my own. It's all right. What about you? Let's take a moment. Take a moment and talk amongst yourselves. What is your bad habit technologically? Don't talk about your kids for a moment, just about you. What is the thing that you can get sucked into or drawn into during the day? What does that look like for you? And before you discuss that, take a moment to check out this amazing video from Progressive about the future of technology. Check this out.
Computer, order pizza.
Of course, Daniel.
Fridge, weather.
Clear skies and 75.
Trash can, turn on the TV.
My pleasure.
Ice dispenser, find me a dog sitter.
Okay.
And make ice.
Pizza delivered.
What's happened to my son? I think that's just what people are like now. I mean, with Progressive, you can quote your insurance on just about any device, even on social media. It'll be fine.
Willie?
I don't know.
Technology isn't just something that kids are dealing with, adults are dealing with it too, right? This is something that we're navigating that maybe our grandparents, for sure our grandparents didn't have to navigate, and our parents were maybe navigating TV, cable, maybe that was the level of technology. The personal computer, I remember getting the first personal computer in the home I was in when I was in college, like a freshman, sophomore in college. So this is fairly new. The idea of all of the technology that we have, and we're navigating a different world. Parents are navigating a different world. You guys work with students, you work with kids in various capacities, from elementary kids all the way up to college, in the church world, but also in a setting that is in the community, in the competitive setting. So what are some of the challenges that these students are facing that they come to you with, or that you see when you're dealing with students? What are some of the challenges you see them facing, some of the concerns that kind of bubble up in you about technology on various forms? I mean, of course, there's music, internet, games, phone, like there's all that. What are some of the challenges you think these kids are facing?
I think with my swimmers and the junior high and high school kids that I see, the lack of genuine friendships because of the relationships they build on social media, and like, you know, when we were kids, or even as adults, like if there's a problem, like, hey man, you hurt my feelings, like that was not cool when you said that. But these teenagers that I work with don't have those skills. They don't have the skills to talk face to face to each other. I mean, at the end of every practice, I require my kids to shake my hand, and getting them to, like, I'm like, hey, eye contact. You know, like
look in the eye.
I'm searching for eye contact, and these are 16, 17, 18-year-olds, you know?
Wow.
And they don't have those interpersonal skills. And then they're also willing to say things like through text messages and social media that there's no way they would say in person.
Yeah.
I had this parent on the team last year she was awesome, rock star mom. So her son had been inappropriately texting another teammate, like yelling at him, cursing, just really angry at the other teammate. And the mom made him sit down at the kitchen table and read the text messages. And so, like, he's like, oh, okay, F you jerk. Look, and she's like, that's not what you texted. If you're willing to text it, you're going to say it out loud. And she made him read the text messages.
Everything he had put.
Everything he wrote, he had to read it out loud to his mama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was so eye-opening to me on what they're willing to text and what they're willing to say to each other.
Yeah.
You know?
He wasn't willing to say that to his mom without being forced, right?
Yeah, no. So, and that was a really great moment for that kid. Like, okay, this is, like, texting it to someone is just as impactful and real as saying it to their face.
That's right.
You know, and so I think really figuring out how to teach the kids to those interpersonal skills for friendships and for working together and for teamwork and those kinds of things.
It's so true. I mean, kids can be around each other. We can be around each other and all on our phones, right? So, or in our technology. And so we're not dealing with each other face to face or interpersonal. So you lose those skills. And that's huge with kids.
Oh, yeah.
I think with college, young adult age, it's almost like you get exposed to technology when you're like in elementary school. Then in high school is really where, like, you start exploring stuff, you start to get used to it. I think in college, though, is where, and young adults beyond that, you start to realize, like, okay, some of the stuff I was curious about, some of the stuff I was, checking out has now become, like, destructive behavior a little bit. Like, you start to realize, like, okay, so you get, using porn as the example, obviously, like, you get exposed to that high school or younger, most of the time younger today, but you get into college and this thing is manifested into this thing where it's become a daily thing for them, and it's become such a habit they can't break it. And it's so accessible, it's so easy, they're just looking at it all the time.
Sure.
Yeah. And then stuff that's even less insidious, like stuff that's not so obviously evil, that also invades it, where they they've grown up with technology, grown up communicating through Instagram or Snapchat or text message or whatever. Now they have this full-blown like social anxiety because they don't know how to like have a conversation person to person. So they don't know how to, like, if they're a guy, they don't know how to talk to a girl.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know how to pursue a girl. They just know, okay, I'm going to slide into your DMs or something like that, you know?
One of the big concerns I have as a parent, and I see it in ministry too, I see accessibility as one of the biggest problems. The accessibility to pornography, the accessibility to explicit music. I mean, if you look at the top 10 chart on iTunes, most of them are explicit. Most of them. And used to, you'd have to go to the store and purchase an explicit, like you'd have to go and show your driver's license if you were going to buy a rap album that had curse words in it and misogyny and whatever the case may be in some of those explicit albums. Now, actually, I mean, those albums sell amazing. You can buy them on iTunes. All you have to do is click and say, yes, I'm 18. I mean, you don't have to prove that. And so, like, the access to music, the access to images that are young, that can be accessed at a younger and younger age, can really draw people in. And there's apps that are concerning, right? Like, I mean, I've heard of, there's various an app called Calculator that looks like a calculator, but really it's if you put in a specific number, you can actually hide images. So people can hide images in that. It looks like a calculator, but it's really a folder to hide the images that you don't want your parents to see or other people to see that may be checking. So there's a lot of things that are open to concern, from those kind of serious topics even to how much time my kids spend on Fortnite, and man, it seems like crazy, and how do I get them back from games and those kind of things. So let's take a moment within your group. Why don't you take time and discuss what are some of the pressure points around your home? What are some of the things that you're dealing with within your home and your context, whether you have teenagers, whether you have young kids, whether you have babies, you're not even to that point yet, but you're worried about it because maybe some of the things you faced. And then maybe if you are an empty nester, you're talking about the things your grandkids are facing, and how do you navigate that when they come over and you have them for the weekend. Take a moment to discuss the pressure points in your home and then come right back. We also took a moment to ask students what they thought of their parents' use of technology, and they had some interesting things to say. I want you to check that out before you come back. Technology can from the parent side of things, can be a distraction too, right? Have you guys experienced that? That parents' technology, not just kids having technology, but that can get in the way. In what ways, we'll continue with this other conversation in a moment, but in what ways can parents engaging in technology be a hindrance to their parenting? Have you guys seen?
For me, it's kind of like, so obviously technology, like my dad, he works a lot, but like whenever we're at the dinner table or whatever, he's constantly getting text messages or emails about work, and it just seems like sometimes he never puts it down. Yeah. So like sometimes whenever we're having a family conversation at the dinner table, he's not really involved in it. And same with my mom, whenever she's checking her Facebook feed or checking on what her mother's doing or her sisters are doing or all of her friends, just sometimes seems like they're there, but they're not really there. Yeah. And they're just kind of sucked into something else, and it makes you feel like what they're doing is more important than what you're talking about.
Yeah. That's good.
It's like the same thing the parents say they feel about us, we can feel about them.
Yeah, sure. It's like for all humans, not just kids, right?
Yeah.
Something I've seen is like you'll be talking to them and they're on their phone or on their computer and they're engaging with you, but later you mention something about that conversation. They're like, no, you never told me that, but you're like, yeah, I did, but you were on your phone, so you probably didn't hear me.
Or like, you can get them to say yes to some things that
I was just gonna say that. It's like, okay, I'm going over here, and they're like, okay have fun.
And then they can't get mad at you.
Well, and then they'll call me like an hour later, they'll be like, where are you? And I'm like, you told me yes, like you even asked who was like, where we were gonna be going and who's gonna be driving. Like, and he was like, oh.
It's kind of a new television, right? Because it used to be kind of people zone out and watch television. Now it's more so their phones, probably even more than television. Well, we've talked about some of the challenges that both parents and students face when it comes to technology, and it's clear it's not just a student issue or a kid issue. This is a all of us issue in so many ways. And I love the way Access Ministries deals with some of this. One of the foundational questions they ask, I'm going to ask of you guys today, and this is a resource we introduced in week 1, but we're going to talk a little more about. We have a clip here in a little bit to show you here in week 6. But this is a ministry. These guys, Access, comes together to provide families, parents with resources to have conversations with their kids about not just technology, but cultural things that are going on. And we'll fill you more in about that in a minute. But one of the conversations they start and one place they begin, which I love this idea of beginning, is in Genesis chapter 1. When you look at creation in Genesis 1, you see that God created everything and it was good, right? Genesis 1:31 says this, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the place to start is the idea is if God's creation is good, and he tells men and women to go and cultivate the earth and subdue it, right? Then the things that we're called to do, that work of that creative work, that's also good. And there's good to that, right? Mm-hmm. But we also know in the biblical narrative in Genesis 3, sin enters the world. Genesis chapter 3, there's rebellion against God and sin enters the world. And as a result, God's amazing, beautiful creation is cursed. And out of that, there is this dichotomy. There's this reality of we have a world in which God created that he said it's very good. But there's also a curse because of sin and death. And with that, we see the gospel come full circle, don't we? We see that Jesus came to redeem us from the curse. And he came to restore creation. And that's what Jesus does in our lives. And we talked about that when we talked about the gospel. So when you're talking about technology, it's not that technology is neither good or bad. It actually can be very good. And there's a lot of things about technology that are amazing, lives that are changed today, transformed today, even life-saving measures that are available today because of technology that weren't available years ago. But it also can be cursed. And then the question is, if technology can be good, but it also can be cursed, then how do we redeem it? How do we, in the spirit of Jesus, who's redeemed us, how do we redeem technology, and what does that look like in our families? What does that look like for phones? What does that look like for technology in general? So I want to pose that to you in the group for a moment. I want you to pause this, and I want you just to ask yourselves this question. Take a few moments to discuss this. How is technology good? What are ways in which technology are good? Discuss that amongst yourselves. And then secondly, what are ways it's cursed? And then finally, what are some ways we can redeem that as Christians, as followers of Jesus? So take a moment and discuss that together. Well, I hope you had some great discussion. I mean, there's a lot the Bible has to say about our mind and what we put our eyes on, right? Whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is noble, think about such things. We have Job speaking of lust. I've made a covenant with my eyes, right? There's certain things we see or what we're to do with our mind. It really matters. So there's a lot of places we could go thinking through technology and the temptations and or the pitfalls in there. But I also... I think the best place to start is there in Genesis 1, which we've been talking about. So I'm going to pose the same question to you guys that we asked of our groups. Like, in what ways do you think technology has been good? Like, what are just name off some good things that are here, that exist, and made our lives better because of technology.
I know how to get places when I'm driving. Right?
GPS.
GPS.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Birthdays. Facebook reminds me about birthdays that I would not have remembered.
Yeah, that helps you keep that relationship up, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it helps with connection. I mean, in so many different ways, through things like Facebook, social media, or even like FaceTime. You know, none of our parents or any of our family live in Midland or Odessa, and so we're able to FaceTime and stay connected.
That's right. When I'm traveling, it's so awesome to be able to look at my kids and they can see me, and it makes that distance not seem so far.
Yeah.
Our son can't speak.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a voice, and so his iPad actually gives him an option to speak. And then also FaceTime, like he can't call grandma and grandpa because he can't talk. He does sign language and has an iPad, and so.
But they can see him.
They can see him and they can sign to him. He signs to them when they're on FaceTime.
That's pretty amazing. What a blessing for that technology,
It's pretty
right?
miraculous.
Yeah. There's a lot of good about technology, and it connects us, like the FaceTime idea. I'm excited. I just had to get our kids' phones. So we just got phones. They're 13, so they're like 2 months into phone land right now. And I'm nervous about it. I got to be honest. I'm completely nervous. But I'm excited about the fact that they'll text me or call me, and our connection level individually has gone up, which is kind of cool.
That is cool.
And so there's an interaction. So there's connection. But what are some of the ways it's cursed? What are some of the ways that technology can be cursed?
I don't think as human beings we were designed to know every single bad thing that's happening in the world all at one time.
True.
Like constantly, where it just feels like you pull up your phone and the world is literally like you see the full expression of sin in the earth but in the past, before technology, it's like, well, it's kind of located to your area.
Right.
Now I know every single bad thing that happens in every single country and every single place in the world right now. Yeah. And it can be overwhelming. Like,
sure.
That's not exactly fun to wake up to.
Yeah.
I mean, kind of like what you're saying with just access. You know, there's not only access to the like overtly terrible things.
Yeah.
But there's also just access to complete time wasters like YouTube.
Yes.
You know, I mean, like there's just access to all the things that no one really cares about or should care about. And if I want to binge out for a weekend on television, I absolutely can, because I can watch anything that's ever been recorded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's just so much.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. One of the things I was thinking about too is even on a real practical level, like phones can distract us. Let's talk about phones for a minute. They can distract us because I've walked into the restaurant, the whole family's on the phone, and they're supposed to be connecting right over a meal with one another. So one way is I've seen some families do that is they have no phone zones. So a way to redeem it is go, hey, phones are amazing, but if they're meant to distract us, then that's what operating the curse, not the good thing it was meant for.
Yeah.
So they'll say all the phones go in the basket while we eat dinner. All the phones stay in the car while we're having dinner together. Or hey, I've even seen where people have decided no phone days. Like they've decided we're just not going to have. We're going to do a no phone or no technology weekend, or Saturday. And at first, people don't like it, but man, some of the families I've talked to, that really creating some of those boundaries. Hey, it's a good thing, but we don't want it to distract us from our relationship. That's one way to redeem it and make sure we focus on the relationships.
I think for me, it's the idea you redeem something by putting it in its proper place and proper time, not letting it be hidden. A lot of sin breeds in hidden places.
Yeah.
Don't put a computer in a private room.
Yeah.
Don't let your child have a TV in his room or her room.
Yeah.
Bringing everything out into a public space doesn't eliminate the opportunity for sin, but it eliminates a lot of opportunity for sin.
Yeah. Sure.
So setting those boundaries of parameters to put things in the right place. Have access. I would have access to every password that your student has. If it's Facebook, you have access to it. If it's Instagram, you have access. Whatever apps they have, their phone, their games, their systems, have access to it. Because as soon as you give them that private hiding space, that's where temptation can really start to anchor into them and start to push them a whole lot closer to temptation, which eventually will lead to that sin.
Families, one of the things the kids said when we asked them about technology is they said, we wouldn't even let junior high students have social media. They said we wouldn't let them do it. Now, these were high school and junior high kids. They were like, we would just, that's what our parents did with us, and there would be no need for it. You could tell some of them maybe not even in high school. Because of some of the dangers and some of the parameters their parents put around them, they actually, looking back, appreciated it, which is some of that. And one of the things families do a lot of that I think puts it in its right place is they don't allow phones to go into the room at night. Like they plug them in the kitchen, and I know for us that's 8:30. They're plugging their phones in the kitchen and leaving them there, so they're not getting text. That kid that has their phone all night texting, "Hey, I'm up. What are you doing?" There's normally not good things that happen during that time, so putting that in its right place is a good idea too, right?
We started doing that on swim trips. We pick up the cell phones when we do room checks, and like not only has their performance gone up because they sleep more,
Yeah.
you know, but like their friendships have deepened because instead of all laying in their hotel room in the hotel bed like scrolling through social media, they like talk to each other and have pillow fights and
Get to know each other.
It's awesome.
Let's take a moment. I want you guys to talk about something and ask this question amongst your group. There is a real principle of the more trust there is and the more you do well with the small things, then you're entrusted with bigger things and the more freedom that you get, right? The idea is if I don't give my kids who are 13 car keys and say good luck, that's not a good idea. They need to get older, make more judgments. They need to go through a training period, right? But they do have phones, and we didn't allow phones 3 years ago. So now as they get older and maturing, and I think sometimes parents just have a desire to give all the kids everything. Here's all the stuff. And really, they're not mature enough to handle it. They're not mature enough to handle full internet access at 8 years old or all the time, or have a phone in their bed while they're going to sleep. Like, they can't handle that. They can't. I mean, there's actually studies coming out, right, about sleep and how screen time is really hindering kids' sleep, and they're staying up later and not getting rest they need. So my question is, have a discussion, and this is what I want you to talk about. Have a discussion in your group about what are some natural points by which kids can earn more and more freedom as we're training them, as you're training your students? Maybe some of you have done that. Maybe there's been mistakes and missteps by some of us that we've learned from. Said, yeah, I gave my kids stuff way too early and I shouldn't have. Or here's what we've done. It seems to have worked. But there should be a natural progression. Biblically, it's the concept of be faithful with the little things and you'll be entrusted with much. So talk about that for a moment. What is that? Take that principle, apply it to technology and how it works for families. And we'll see you in a minute. What is a piece of advice or one thought that you might share with a parent for them to consider when they're navigating this with their students?
I think to not be afraid of it. Like, it's not going away.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid of it and pay attention. I think that's one of the biggest things. There are ratings on video games. Like, they are rated and they will tell you why they're rated that way.
Yeah.
And a lot of parents don't know that. There are ratings on movies and they tell you what's in the movies. I saw a grandma trying to take her grandchildren to a movie called Sausage Fest. And luckily there was a great young man that said, ma'am, I don't think this is the kind of movie you want to take your grandchildren to.
Yeah.
Like, this is really an adult movie. I know it looks like a cartoon, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know, so just pay attention. You know, pay attention to the details.
My advice would be don't say no as often as you can.
Yeah.
But be creative in how you say yes.
Yeah, that's good.
Yes, but I need to be with you. Yes, but I'm going to have access. Whatever that is. Yes, but not those songs. And when you need to say no, say no. But when you can say yes, say yes. It allows students to not shut off.
Yeah.
Because if all they get are no's, they're going to shut off and they're not going to even care why. Even if you lovingly are telling them no, they're not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
And they're going to find other ways to access that information. And so for me, say yes as much as you can, but say no when you need to.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, this has been some great discussion here, and every week we've tried to present to you some resources that we have, that we've been exposed to, that we think you would really get something out of. So there's a couple resources I want to talk about now. The first one is Screens and Teens by Kathy Cook. This is a great resource. It's available at our resource kiosks there at the church, at all of our campuses. It's also available online. You can get it at Amazon. But she's she's a PhD. She is one of the forerunners in this area of technology and kids and our faith and how those things intersect. And I would encourage you, this has been really helpful for me. I would encourage you to go out and get that. There's other resources like this out there, but I'd encourage you to get that. Another resource that we want to expose you to right now is Access Ministries. We've talked about it. We highlighted it in week 1, but we want to give you a little picture of what a sneak peek of some of the things that they do and how they go about setting up some of these conversations. and it's a real similar conversation to what we just had tonight, and so it's going to be familiar to you. I want you to check that out. Before you do, we have created a web page for you to access that has some of the Access Ministry resources on it. So if you go to the website that's listed right below, you can access these things called parent guides, and these parent guides are small, short reading guides just for you to read about, to engage your kids in conversations. And there's tons of topic. If Fortnite, you want to know about Fortnite? They'll tell you about Fortnite and all the problems. Snapchat, like what are some of the dangers with some of these social media stuff? Gender and gender issues, LGBT stuff, questions that maybe kids are facing in their schools. Lots of these subjects, culturally and otherwise, are that Access Ministries provides. We've downloaded on a web page. It's available for you. It's about a $250 per family value, and we've purchased it, and it's free to you at Mid-Cities this year. So go to this website, our web page, and check this out. And it's going to be a great resource. The other thing you can get at Access Ministries is what they call a culture translator. It's an email update that you get every Friday. I love it because I get this update. It's a quick update, but it tells you some things that are going on in culture kids are dealing with that you may not be aware of. Now, you're a coach, so you probably see all of it.
Sometimes they say things I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Somebody called me extra the other day. Come on now.
Yeah, like, what does that mean? Yeah.
Is that good? Bad?
I did not
Extra
know,
what?
like I didn't know broccoli was another word for marijuana. Did not know that, yeah. Netflix and chill, didn't know what that meant till I read the culture translation. So maybe you're like me and you're a little behind on some of the cultural stuff. You can simply register, give your email address. They'll send you that every Friday. It's pretty cool at Access Ministries. But I want to end today with you checking out this short clip from Access Ministries, and they have a lot of great resources. We want you to go check it out. See how they set up this conversation between parents and students, and hopefully it'll be a blessing to you.
Dr. Sherry Turkle, who founded the MIT Initiative on Technology and Self, once said, "Computers are not good or bad, they're powerful."
We agreed with this statement for over a year, but then one day we stopped and started to rethink it. Does the Bible actually say that the world God made and all the technology created from it is not good or bad, but instead it's neutral?
In Genesis, it says the exact opposite. God weaves the world together and declares that it is very good. And part of that goodness is the command God gave man and woman to cultivate the earth.
In essence, we are living out the image of God imprinted on us when we create. In our view, technology, like any tool we've created, is simply one way humans have cultivated the very good cosmos.
But the story doesn't end there. As we all know, this very good world has been subjected to the curse since Adam and Eve chose to rebel against God. Thus, cultivation, and therefore all technology, is affected by the curse. So rather than being neutral, technology is both very good and cursed.
And of course, the story doesn't end there either. God is committed to his creation. Through the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ, God is redeeming that creation. And the best part is that we are invited into this mission with him.
Think about that for a second. We are joining God again, this time in redeeming what has been lost.
So here's the first important conversation to have with your student. How is a smartphone, or anything, very good? How is it cursed? And how can we as a family redeem it?
This positioning is huge. You are no longer the bad guy. You are no longer making that new cool piece of technology evil. Instead, you are inviting technology into a bigger story. God's story. And while you do that, you are humbly submitting this form of technology under the rule of God.
Remember to have this conversation all the time. How is a smartphone good? How is it cursed? And how can we as a family redeem it?
Well, our time together is complete, and we are so glad that you've joined us for this 6 weeks to talk about parenting and what God says about how we're to raise the children He's given us. And I hope it's been a blessing to you guys. If your group wants to continue, there's a path for you. We have some Surviving the Holidays small group curriculum. If you want to continue on, just talk to your group host and discuss that together and let us know. We can get that to you. Also, we'll have another parenting curriculum available for you in January, or you could dive into whatever our series is that we're doing there in January. Also, just a few other resources. We do have a Love and Logic class that is kicking off in January. If you want a specific methodology that'll help you with parenting, Love and Logic is one of them. And it's not the only one we recommend, but it's one of the ones that we think it'll be helpful to you. And so you can register online at midcities.org for information, but space is limited for that. So just a heads up. Also, want to invite you. You're welcome to come to Mid-Cities Church. Join us on any of our campuses on Sunday mornings. We'd love to have you. We have an exciting time coming up in the holidays. December 2nd, we have a concert with Shane and Shane and Phil Wickham. They're going to be here in concert that night at our 191 campus. Would love for you to be a part of it. You can get tickets online at midcities.org. Also, we will be having our daddy-daughter Christmas ball on the 7th of December. So if you're a dad and you have daughters, come, bring them. It's always a special time just to treat our daughters well. Take them to dinner and then bring them to the dance. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then on December 23rd is going to be a special Christmas service that we are going to invite our entire community to. And anyone you know, maybe they don't know God, they are far from God, or they're not connected to a church, invite them on the 23rd. Say, it's Christmas, come to church with me. We're calling this special message From Grinch to Grace. We're going to be talking about the Grinch who stole Christmas and how do we discover grace in the middle of it all. And it's going to be fun, it's going to be impactful, and we're going to celebrate Jesus' birth on December 23rd. And then, of course, on the 24th, we have our traditional Christmas Eve services at all of our campuses. So we'd love for you to join us for the holidays. Thank you for being with us during this 6 weeks. Have an amazing Thanksgiving and an awesome Christmas. We'll see you next time.